Hello and welcome back to the Limit of Adhesion's Endurance League. My name's Mark and joining me in the commentary booth is Steve. Steve, how you doing?
I'm great, thanks Mark. It's fantastic to be back. Looking at this fantastic track here, it's Le Mans. So we're around the circuit here and down the Mulsanne Straight. So looking forward to a fantastic race with the GTP and GT3 drivers.
Yeah, I always do love driving at Le Mans, and it's great to see that we've got a bit of wet weather. That's ought to spice things up a little bit. What do you reckon, Steve? Have you driven much in the wet? What do you think?
I haven't driven that much in the wet, to be honest. Maybe once or twice in the Watkins Glen and what have you. But apart from that, it's wellies and galoshes and brollies to the to the forefront, I think.
Yeah, so we see the grid. We've got Merijn from Hoogeveen from Tomei and Maxwell, the first four on the grid.
Yeah, they've got Zef,
Kelly, Hill and Bright.
That's it.
Sorry, Steve.
That's fine, no problem. Miller, Parker, White and McManaman 12th. And then Gareth, Winslade.
And Winslade and Brown.
Brown there, 14th, yeah.
13th and 14th, rounding out the GTP grid.
GT3 grid.
And the GT3s.
Yeah. So on pole position, we've got Ben Crook.
Steve, you take it.
Jack Hayes in second, Jay Pratt in P3, and Oliver Ettridge P4.
Martinez, Hudson, Steve Pepper, and Clayton Buller. We've got a battle between the llamas and the camels on the third row of the grid.
We have indeed. We've got Rich Meesters in P9, John Cook, Paolo Tempera, and Mark Kelly in P12.
Charlecraft, Ward, Hansel and Miles, P13 to 16.
We have got 17, Fabiola Vieira, and then we've got Charlie Langridge and James Pepper bringing up the rear in P19.
Thanks for that, Steve. So, as you can see, the cars are on the grid and rolling behind the safety car. You can see that it doesn't appear to be raining at the moment, Steve. It's very damp on track, though.
Yeah, very lightly wet, so there's still going to be no slick tyres out there, and because it's dark and it's cold, it's going to take quite a while for this track to dry out. And I think there may be on the forecast some more light rain to moderate rain towards the end of the race. So it's going to be interesting to see who copes the best with the cold and damp temperatures and track.
So that'll be very interesting to see if that rain does materialise, and if it does, how our drivers will cope. So what do you reckon, Steve? Do you think anyone's going to try and brave it out on slicks, or do you think everyone's going to be on wets for the start?
To be honest with you, I think as a track drives out, maybe in the next half an hour, 3/4, depends on how slippery it is out there. You might see one or two drivers trying to get a bit of an advantage, but I don't think there's going to be many that risk it.
Hello?
So I don't think anyone... I don't think anyone's going to be starting on slicks. It does look very tricky conditions out there.
It does. There's lots of roosters out there, so no chickens, just roosters.
Well, we've got llamas, we've got camels, we've got stabby goose, I think.
The tortoise, a two and a frog.
Got an absolute menagerie of cars here at Le Mans, Circuit de la Sarthe.
It looks like the
1 hour and 30 minutes.
My apologies, Mark. It just looks as though the GTPs are lined up, going line astern, sensible way going through that chicane there.
Yep, single file for most of the grid. Not everyone's got the memo, but the pace car is in, and away we go. We are racing at the Circuit de la Sarthe at Le Mans. Merijn maintains his lead. We've got... who's that in the background? That's Maxwell trying to get past Tomei, as we see the GT3 cars come across the line to start the race. Ben Crook there still in the lead. We've still got Merijn up the front of the GTP field, the overall leaders. The standings boards on the left are the wrong way round. It's the yellow cars that are the GTPs. They are leading overall. So the camera here focused on Merijn, number 01, closely followed by Hoogeveen. And they've sort of dropped Stephen Maxwell a little bit, who's managed to get past Tomei.
Yeah, it looks like they've made a bit of a break for it, to be
Meanwhile,
honest.
indeed. Meanwhile, in the GT3 class, what's happened up the front looks like no change up the front. Ben Crook still leading, as I heard a crunch in the background. Has someone found the barriers? Doesn't look like any of the leading GT3 cars.
I think that
as
was
they
Rob
come
Miller.
through Tetra Rouge for the first time. I think you could be right. Rob Miller, and yeah, Rob Miller has towed back to the pit lane. It's a great shame for him. I hope we'll get to see what happened, or where that happened, even. So I just heard a crunch, but didn't really see anything.
I don't think the
Maybe we'll just come across a random bumper.
I don't think the replay monkeys have been employed at the moment, but hopefully for the next one. It looked like there was
Meanwhile, I think I might have seen Rich Meesters has gotten into some sort of difficulty, because there is a Ford Mustang driving around without any front lights. In fact, you can just about see it there.
He'd be driving behind people just to see where he's going.
I have no idea if that is Rich Meesters. All I know is that it's a cool camel and it's a Mustang.
Number 64.
And I think Meesters might be the only... Yes, that's Meesters.
Yes, it is.
In fact, looks like he's tucked up behind Pepper, the other cool camel car. So I wonder if those two are going to ride in tandem for a bit, so that Rich Meesters can borrow Pepper's headlights.
I think he's actually passed him. Very brave.
So we'll have to see if Meesters dives into the pits or whether he feels like he can continue. Of course, if he's not got a meatball flag, if the stewards have deemed that his car is safe to continue, then he is not obliged to come in and get that fixed.
Yeah, we have seen GTPs and the likes that have had the entire front end missing and still not a meatball flag. So the chances are he's actually going to be able to continue and race into the day, I suppose, from going from night to day on this session.
It's certainly possible. As we see there, we've got a gaggle of cars, Chalcraft, Pepper and Tempera, and the other Pepper, all in this little gaggle of cars. We've got John Cook and Rich Meesters involved as well, at the front. Meesters, as you can see, still searching for other cars to try and borrow some light from. Paolo Tempera now. We've got two camels behind him. Line of turn, it's father and son, both Peppers, too wide as they come up towards the Porsche curves.
The beady-eyed of you will probably notice that both Peppers have swapped back to their original cars. And Steve Pepper is now back into the Ferrari, and James is back into the Mercedes.
Indeed, and just going back to Rich Meesters, as we see Paolo Tempera running slightly wide. He may get a slowdown penalty for that. But this is the section that's really going to be painful if Meesters does have much front wing damage. So you're going down the straights, it's not too bad. You'll be a little bit down on top end, but otherwise it's not too bad. But it's through the twisty bits, through the Porsche curves and the Corvette curves. That's where it'll really, really hurt if you're lacking front grip. But we can see that he's made it safely through. He's not coming to the pit lane. As we see still this battle between Tempera and Shellcraft, and James Pepper as well getting involved.
Yeah, I know.
I do like that sky livery of Shellcraft.
Yeah, that's a great. I think it's British GT Championship. I think it is that. The sky livery.
I think so. Yeah, it certainly looks familiar.
Oh,
and Tempera's lost it.
Yeah. So easily done there.
It certainly is. We'll have to see if he's got any damage and if he can continue.
Yeah, I think there's fairly much a big enough runoff area there. Even if you're going backwards, you can get back on track out with gravel.
And it looks like he is moving again. And while up the front, we've got Ettridge now up to third. So as he gets passed by GTP of Mark Brown. Ettridge now chasing down this man here, Jack Haynes. Ben Crook, you can see just exiting screen, has got a little bit of a gap. He's up to about a second and a half, so he's got a little bit of a gap. It's certainly not comfortable though, but certainly a strong start for Crook.
I'm not sure if this is Jack Haynes' first race, you know. If it is, a big warm welcome to Jack and anybody else that's joined us in the interim between races, actually.
Indeed, everyone is always welcome to come and say hi in our Discord, or leave a like and subscribe and comment on the video. And yeah, if you're new to the Limited Edition, come and say hello. You're always very welcome. As we see, one thing that will not be welcome is Oliver Ettridge all over the back of Jack Haynes. Haynes will be looking in his mirrors, trying to see which way Ettridge is going. Ettridge goes to the right-hand side, which will be the inside for the right-hand kink just before Indianapolis.
As we still no lights.
Go back to... I was just about to say, as we go back to this other battle, we've got camel on camel action here. We've got one of them with their headlights, one of them without their headlights. And a sandwich between Chalcraft and Cook. And who will play it safe? Yeah, I think Meesters very sensibly backs out there. You can just start to get an idea of the damage that he sustained. He's got very little of his front end remaining.
Yeah, it looks as though he's
so I'm not quite sure what's happened.
Yeah, I think that happened on the parade lap, or the
it must have been the first lap.
The pace lap, yeah. Yeah, there was some sort of contact there, and I think unfortunately it's actually ripped the pole of the front bumper off the front of the car.
So we are only 12 minutes into this race, so an hour and 20 or so to go. So we'll have to see if Rich decides that enough is enough and does come into the pits. Through this section where I was saying previously, where that lack of front grip will really hurt you, he's lost about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds on James Pepper in front. So
it's all right, mate.
That's it. And his
it
front
does
wheels
look as if he's struggling a little bit.
They're just ripping the tyres on the surface. So he's got to watch out for all that understeer and just try and keep it as smooth as he possibly can.
Indeed, these guys will have to pit for fuel at some point, usually sort of around the 45-minute to an hour mark. So we will see if Rich decides to get any or all of the damage repaired when he does pit.
Yeah, I would think he'd be trying to
Meanwhile,
work out whereabouts
front,
he can stop without losing places.
Meanwhile, up at the front, so we've got the top two, Malarin from Hoogervin, have absolutely bolted away. We're only on the third lap, and they've already got a near 20-second lead back to Gavin Kelly in third. Kelly's having a good start to the race, because I can't remember where he started, but he certainly made up a couple of positions.
He has.
As we see, Rich Meesters still trying to follow Pepper. And as we see, is this a change of position? Martinez versus Pratt. And it looks like Martinez not quite able to get ahead of Pratt at this moment. He will tuck into the slipstream though, down the Mulsanne straight. No luck into the first of the chicanes, but we've got the second one coming up, and he looks very close. Pratt sort of maintains position in the middle of the road. Martinez goes to the outside. That's a bold choice. Will he be able to be late on the brakes and take it around the outside? He's certainly going to try, but no, it looks like he's backed out of it. As we see, we're told that apparently that's Meesters. Can't actually see Meesters.
Give us a wave, Rich. You can't give us a flash.
We are still at night time, and although the rain, I believe, has stopped, it is still quite foggy out there, as Maxwell now under pressure from Dan Hill. Dan having a good run.
These drivers
Well,
as
these
well.
wet conditions.
My apologies, Mark. These drivers, well, although it's an hour and a half race, which is tiring enough, their eyes are going to be on stalks because obviously they're concentrating so heavily on not losing the car in the wet conditions. It's dark, so they're concentrating on the lights in front of them and things like that. So it all adds to the endurance and of these drivers and cars and the expectation that they've got. Oh, as we see Dan Hill go round there. That's unfortunate.
That's a real shame for Dan Hill after being able to apply so much pressure to Maxwell. But hey, you know, if he's got the pace, he will hopefully be able to work his way back up and fight for more positions later on. You see something's happened to Kelly, according to the standings. Meanwhile, Cook and Hansel going wheel to wheel through Indianapolis as they come up to Arnage. Cook did have the inside line, but not the track position. Hansel gets past. So we've seen some good fighting between this gaggle of GT3s, and as I said, we're only on the third lap so far, so this bodes well for the rest of the race. As we see another car with front end damage, and that's what's happened to Kelly. He has decided, you know what, Rich is doing quite well without a front end. Maybe that's the way to go. I can tell you, Jules, that is not the way to go, unfortunately, as Zeph now gets past. Or does he? Kelly looks like he's still got decent enough front top speed. But no, I think Zeph will be late on the brakes. We'll get the car stopped and we'll get the position. Kelly there. The driver's board, or the standings board, on the side of his car, so showing third. That will update when they cross the line. And while here's Winslade, as that was Pepper going very wide. Childcraft, meanwhile, has managed to catch up to Clayton Buller. And we'll be putting Buller under a bit of pressure. So, Steve, we've seen there's a bit of a gaggle of GT3s all sort of getting stuck in and fighting a little bit, as that looks like that could have been a slowdown there for Buller, who was very wide. What would you be thinking in this situation as Winslade goes threading the needle, 3 wide? How would you approach this sort of stint? You know, we're still fairly early days in the race. What would be going through your head at this point?
Anything can happen. I'm thinking it's a race of attrition. It's wet. Anything can happen. All you need is a wheel in the wrong place, or on a white line somewhere, and the car goes round. You want to avoid any sort of contact with the Armco, any sort of incidents and accidents. And you're basically looking at getting at least to the first stop and then assessing where you are from there, and maybe having a look if the track's starting to dry out, and looking at where you can get from there. So a lot of these drivers will be, looking at getting to their first stop, and then, assessing where they've got to and taking it from there.
Yeah, I think one thing that you touched on there, Steve, that's vitally important and so easy to overlook is the effect of this weather. Because, yeah, at the moment, all the cars are driving around on wet weather tyres. We can see that Parker's already come into the pits to possibly sort out some damage. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Parker. But he's already on his second set of tyres, as is Jack Haynes. So, at some point, some of these guys will be coming in for potentially dry weather tyres. If the track dries up enough, it's still looking very wet, but it doesn't look like it's raining. So, I think unless the rain materialises again, it's going to be a case of when, not if they come in for slicks. But, as you said, Steve, anything can happen. It could stay wet the entire race. And yes, these drivers have got to be on their toes, just sort of making sure they're staying calm, not doing anything silly.
The key is...
Meesters did look to the inside there on Hansel, but decided better of it.
Sorry, Mark. Yeah, the key is to watch the rooster tails. As the rooster tails decrease, obviously the track is drying. And at the moment, I would... Oh, there's round good Meesters. That's a bit of an unfortunate there. It's easily done in that corner because...
Mr. Meesters.
Mr. Meesters, yes, Mr. Meesters. Being polite there, you see. Yeah, it's as the rooster tails, like I say, decrease, it shows the track's drying. And you're wanting that to be as low as you possibly can before you start messing around with slick tyres. As soon as slick tyres go on, they get cold, then you're on really thin ice. And the next thing you're into a barrier, spinning round or collecting somebody else.
Yeah, it is very, very tricky, even on wet weather tyres, let alone on slicks on a slightly damp track. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Steve. It's the rooster tails that you need to look out for, but particularly the rooster tails from the tyres versus the diffuser, because there are two sort of distinct rooster tails. There's one that sort of gets pushed up from the tyres and one sort of in the centre of the car from the diffuser.
Yes.
And yeah, you can see there on Jay Pratt and Gareth Winstay's car, the wheels are still kicking up quite a bit of water, but the diffuser isn't kicking up as much at the moment. So maybe the track is just drying out a little bit. Maybe we are edging closer to slicks. You see Don Parker there getting past Carl Hudson. Hudson's having a good race up there in fifth.
Oh, a bit of a slide there for
that was language.
That, yes.
It was, yeah.
Well held.
Definitely. It's so easy in these weather conditions just to get slightly offline, hit a wet patch, and then, yeah, it can easily be game over. So as we approach a third of the way through this race in a few minutes, we've still got Ben Crook up front in the GT3 class and Malarin and Hugavin up front in the GTP class. Malarin and Hugavin sort of in a little class of their own at the moment. Absolutely storming away. Meanwhile, that's Pepper with a little bit of front end damage. Not sure what's happened to him, but he's certainly going to be feeling the effects of that one.
Yeah, I think he lost it 2 or 3 laps into the race. Just had a bit of a moment on the once again on wet. Oh, that's Lewis McManaman going straight on at the corner there.
Just like Lewis McManaman did, yeah.
Yeah, I think he had a bit of a moment on a white line and hit the barrier at some stage.
Very easily done in these conditions.
I'm going to have to beat these replay monkeys with a big stick, I think.
Maybe you're not paying them enough.
How many washes does it take?
So, we've got on board here with David Ward. You can see on the relative and there on screen in the background, we have Tuomalarin coming up quickly to start lapping the GT3s. So that just adds a little bit of an extra dimension into these races. The traffic, if you're in the slower car, trying to direct the faster cars as to where you want them to overtake, and for the faster cars, trying to weave your way through the traffic.
I think Le Mans is one of those tracks where it's actually a bit easier for the multi-class, because obviously with the straights being so long, it gives an opportunity for the faster cars to pass, and also the fast flowing corners that we've got. As long as they take it nice and steady, and you know, there's respect between both sets of drivers. I don't think there's not many problems at Le Mans.
Yeah, I think also just the sheer size of the track itself. I mean, if you consider we're nearly a third of the way through this race, and they've only done 5 laps so far. We're on lap number 6. So the fact that the track is so long just means that the field will spread out that much more. You'll be lapping cars less because you've got that much further to travel to lap them. Also, the same amount of cars are spread out a lot more. I mean, if this was somewhere like Knock Hill, it would just be absolute carnage, complete chaos, because you're going to have a car right in front of you at all times.
That's it.
That was close.
There was a little bit of
So you can see that.
confusion there caused by the GTP trying to pass in the Porsche curves.
I think we're knocked out.
So that was Merijn Hugevin trying to chase down Malarin. We've still got this battle going on between Miles, also in the nice Sky livery, like Chalcraft, and that was Jack Haynes spinning. Haynes started the race really well, but unfortunately has already had to pit and has just had another little spin.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So that's a shame, but
yeah,
he's certainly showing good pace. Kelly, meanwhile, is trying to defend from Bright, but it looks like, unfortunately, with that damage on the front end, it looks like just a matter of time before Bright gets past, because Kelly, unfortunately, has slipped down the order somewhat.
it's going to be very difficult defending with that nose end missing. It looks like James Pepper on the tail end of Clayton Buller as well there.
Clayton will, well, I'll say Clayton will be happy to have a camel in his rear view mirror.
I know James has been touched there near.
That was, I think that was contact there. However, slight.
Just a little nudge.
I think it'll be this bit that's going to really harm Kelly. With that, you're going to, that sort of damage, you're going to have less top end, less straight line speed. So I imagine Bright will be able to get past fairly easily. As that was just a grey screen, I think.
The fog's descending.
It is indeed. Visibility really proving to be troublesome for these guys out here. I mean, look at that. If there's anyone out there without headlights, Meesters, Kelly, they are gonna really struggle. As we see, there's a car in the gravel. Is that Tempera?
Tempera, yeah. He's obviously lost it on that 90-degree turn there, which is, once again, is so easy to do.
Nice little battle here forming up between Philip Miles and David Ward. David Ward looking to get past. And he's certainly got the speed. He's got the inside line for the next corner. We'll see if he can do it. Oh, we got GTPs trying to thread the needle of GT3s. That's Dan Hill and Mark Zeff. Zeff there in the grey Cool Camel team.
Yeah, this is
trying
Mark's,
to...
my apologies, this is Mark's first race this season. Oh,
It is indeed. I was going to say, yeah, this season. Mark's raced with us plenty of times before.
That looked like Rich Mister's going around at that corner again, but he's managed to keep up his time
You're right there, Rich.
keep it yes, facing forwards.
Sorry, I just lost the back end, Dan.
And Rich just says
There is confirmation of what happened.
If he loses too much more
Still
of that
these two nose to tail.
Good to drive. lost the front end, lost the back end. What's he going to do?
He'll round the outside of Jack Haynes through the Porsche curves. That's brave. Of course, he wants to try and put a few GT3s between himself and Zeph. And there we go. That's worked out perfectly for Hill and disastrously for Zeph. Entering the Ford chicane, Zeph's got caught up behind Philip Miles. Won't be able to overtake until the exit. There we go. And that's put a second and a half between them. That's given Dan Hill a little bit of breathing room for the moment. And something's happened to both Hugavin and Tomei, because they're both dropping down the order. Merijn at least has been in the pits. I'm not sure about Tomei. I'm not sure if that was a scheduled stop or not, because, well, I mean, although it might not be raining, it certainly doesn't look like it's anywhere near dry enough for slicks.
I wouldn't have thought so, but I wouldn't put it past him.
Yes, that's a very valid point. This is Hugavin. He does do some absolutely crazy things sometimes, like spend 30-odd thousand hours practicing for Formula 3 at Woodskogen.
I'm glad you said that.
I just realised we were never going to call it Woodskogen. Well, we were always going to call it Rubik's Cubeskin.
That's it.
It's just like trying to put all those letters together is like trying to mentally assemble or complete a Rubik's Cube. Look at that, Steve. We're a third of the way through the race and we're already going slightly doolally.
I was just thinking that if Merijn has actually gone to slicks, it'll be interesting to see where he comes out compared to the likes of Stephen Maxwell and Solari. He would have been around those sort of, certainly behind Tour, so it would have been interesting. It'd be interesting to see now where he comes out if he hasn't gone up those slick tyres.
What do you reckon? I think it's a bit too early for that to have been fuel.
I think, yeah, I don't know. It just depends. If he's thinking the track's drying out and he wants to get on slicks to get them warmed up, then you know, I think the GTPs stop at least. Was it twice in an hour and a half?
You could be right.
I'm fairly sure it's about 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes for a GTP. So you're looking at, if he's taking a gamble, then he's also got another stop just in case anyway. So yeah, I can see he's brave enough to take a gamble, is Merijn. So let's see, let's watch these how it unfolds in the next few laps.
Of course, the number one rule of racing in these sorts of weather conditions is to make sure that you are always on the right tyre. Don't be on the right tyre for what's coming. Don't be on the right tyre for what you've just had. Be on the right tyre for right here, right now.
Very much. Those rooster tails are starting to decrease a little bit, but I don't think, for me, they wouldn't be small enough yet. I'd still be on wets.
As we see Cook, Miles and Haynes all nose to tail. Nice little fight there between these three. Haynes, of course, has already done one pit stop, but he came in on lap 3, so I certainly don't think that Yeah, I think he's probably on the same strategy as these guys, to be honest, because I don't think that little 3-lap stint would have made too much of a difference. And he's got past Miles and will be going forwards towards David Ward, who is in the pit lane.
Yeah, look,
We see Kelly.
Couple there.
Kelly now in his out lap. He has to pay his mechanics double, I think, for doing such a quick repair job. Because look at that, he's got a front end back, and he's got some working lights.
I think a few of the GT3 drivers are looking at, say, if it's 50, 55 minutes for a full tank of fuel. I think of them. Some of them are actually going into the pits now and refueling to the end of the race. And I would probably think taking on wet tyres.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? These sorts of conditions, you've got to go for wets.
Yeah. That's Lewis McManaman in the pits. And the whole gaggle of cars coming back out again.
Indeed, that was the Ward-Cook-Miles battle that we were seeing earlier.
Yeah, and they've all gone into the
Clayton
pits
Buller
at the
now
same
also
time.
involved. I'm sorry, Clayton Buller's not involved. Clayton Buller's 13 seconds down the road.
I was just about to
What
point
am
out. Yeah. James Pepper in 8th place there, chasing Ben Chalcraft and Matthew Hansel. I have to get Matthew Hansel's name right because I keep saying Mansell for some reason. But Matthew Hansel there as well, doing really well in the I think he's in a Mustang as well. So we've got at least 3 Mustangs in the race at the moment.
So here we've got Hill and Zeph. That battle still continuing. Neither of these two have pitted yet, though. And they're probably going to be coming up to when they need to pit. It'll probably either be this end of this lap or potentially one more.
Well, Hugovin's regained second place, so it looks as though through the pit stops, both Xiao Tomei and Stephen Maxwell have dropped behind him again now.
So maybe that was a scheduled stop then.
Possibly.
It seemed a little early, but
Yeah. I'm still not convinced he's gone to wet tyres though. I still think there's a little bit in me says that he's taken a risk and decided to try and pull some fast laps on people.
well, we'll have to have a look at his sector times and see what they are and see if we can deduce anything that way. See, Malarin is now in the pits. Malarin has pitted. Zeph now so close to Hill, but just unable to get a move done before the Porsche curves. So he'll hope now to regroup to get a brilliant exit from this corner coming up and see if he can attack down into the Forge Cane. But actually that GT3 there of Jay Pratt looks like it might have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time and caused Zeph to maybe have a slightly suboptimal line through there. As we see the fog getting so heavy now. We are told that that is Malarin.
That's what
Sorry, no, that's Hugavin.
Hugavin, yeah.
Lewis McManaman here, after his pit stop, has exited just in front of Don Parker. Parker, who pitted on lap 1, will probably have to pit either this lap or next lap. Unless he's doing a super duper fuel save strategy. And let's be honest, it's Parker, so that's always possible.
Meester's
As
round.
we see Meester's having just got his car fixed and now having headlights, I think has shocked him a little bit. Because he's not used to being able to see where he's going. And unfortunately having a little trip through to the gravel there. He'll be hoping that he kept the rear of the car out of the wall. Hoping that the gravel trap has done its job.
So these drivers must have eyes on stalks as they come through this fog. Spray and fog's nothing worse.
Indeed, I mean, look at that. If these cars didn't have headlights, you wouldn't be able to see a thing.
I wouldn't like to be crossing road there. Put it that way.
Definitely not. Not when you've got upwards of 15 GTPs screaming towards you at a couple of 100 miles an hour.
This is for position.
It is indeed. Jatome continues to keep the position for now. And Maxwell right behind him. And having said that, Maxwell now pulls to the outside to overtake. They have gone through Mulsanne and are on the next straight up to Indianapolis. Mark Zeff still just behind downhill, even after the pit stops.
Looking at the relative, Stephen Maxwell actually cleared Xiao Tomei there as well.
Hill, meanwhile, still managing to stay ahead of Zeff for the moment. Meanwhile, McManaman trying to now weave through the GT3 traffic. That was through the second Mulsanne chicane. Back onto the straight, and he'll really be able to stretch his legs here and put a bit of distance between him and the GT3s. Now, John Cook, Philip Miles and Paolo Tempera all still fairly close together on track. Paolo Tempera's dropped back a little bit, but these two still nose to tail. Cook ahead of Miles for the moment.
Merijn Hugavin now just
Hugavin
under 10 seconds. Just under 10 seconds between him
I
and
think
Tomalarin.
he must be on wets, surely.
I would think so, yeah. Looking at that, well, it possibly sure, yeah. I wouldn't like to be driving these GTPs in anything other than wets. Yeah, they are fairly notorious for not handling particularly well in the wet conditions compared to other cars.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to assume that these cars must, like with their big wings, must have absolutely acres of grip. But actually, when you're in the wet, suddenly you find that they're big, they're heavy, they have no driver aids. And yeah, it's very, very easy to lock a tyre and just skid and go straight on.
Yeah,
you see Zeff still chasing Hill.
My apologies, Matt. They rely so much on ground effects downforce that at slow speeds they just don't handle the wet conditions at all well.
Definitely. Zeff now as close as he's ever been, but he did back out of that quite early. So I wonder if maybe Zeff's trying to save a bit of fuel and be able to jump Hill in the next pit stop.
That's a possibility. It's a good call, especially if you're not, not very close to a lot of the traffic in front. I mean, it's 13.5 seconds between Zhao Tome and these two fighting there. So it's if you can save a couple of seconds and get in front of Dan in the next pit stops, that's job done.
Yeah, if you just watch Zeph sort of towards the end of the straight, so he's closing, he's closing, he's closing. He keeps closing, and just there, we see him backed off ever so slightly at the end of the straight.
Yeah.
And he's able to follow very closely.
Yeah, Dan must be really watching the rear view mirror in his car just to see which way he's going to go, if he's going to try and take him, and we have rain. It's raining.
It is, you're right.
This will really shake up the field at the moment if the track gets much wetter.
Indeed. Now, if Hugavin is on slicks, this will be absolutely disastrous for him. I don't think he can be on slicks. He's going way too fast to be on slicks. I think, although he may be a wizard, I don't think he'll be able to... I don't think he can keep up this sort of pace for this long in these conditions on slicks.
No, I think you're right. Pretty sure if he's on slicks, we'll see him fairly much in the next lap or two, straight into the pits to get him changed and put on back onto X.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Steve.
Looks like Mark Zeph's passed down the hill now.
It looks like he has, yeah. I'm not sure where he managed to get that move done. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be breathing a sigh of relief.
It looked like it went through the Porsche curve, or the Ford chicane, to be honest. Yeah.
Just looking at the board on the side of his car, Zeph's still showing as being in 6th place. So it must have been on this lap, so I'm guessing into the Dunlop curves or Dunlop chicane.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, having said that, Hill now in the slipstream moves out to what will be the outside. This fight certainly isn't over. Zeph keeps the position for now.
Winsley just behind a watching brief there.
They are on different strategies, of course. Yeah, Zeph still managing to stay ahead at the moment. Yeah, we'll see if Zeph's able to break the toe. He's got the gap up to nearly a second. As you see, on board with our GTP and overall race leader, Chumalarin. Oh, that gap that was up at nearly a second is now down to just a 1/10 of a second. So Dan Hill has managed to claw his way back. Yeah, we'll be able to have a look at getting back past Mark Zeph before this lap is over. He's not going to look into Indianapolis.
Dan might have just decided that better part of Valor and follow Mark round and once again with him do a bit of fuel saving and try and jump him in the pit stop.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. Malaren still in the lead, still extending the gap to Hugavin. As we see this Miles Cook Tempera battle still raging on. That sort of the gap between them has sort of ebbed and flowed, but yeah, we've consistently had sort of these sort of good 3, 4, 5 cars all in the in the fight for the bottom end of the top 10. Sort of the early teens. It's brilliant that we've had so many cars fighting for sort of so consistently throughout the race. We're 50 minutes in now, over halfway through.
Yeah, there's little groups of cars all over the place, isn't there, that are fighting for position, and nobody's really sort of given a quarter, really. They're all really putting 110% into the racing. It's good to see.
I'm sure this battle will continue as we see indeed Cook moves to the inside but not quite close enough under brakes. He'll hope to get a good exit. Oh, he doesn't need a good exit as we see that's Philip Miles going slightly wide, and that's let John Cook through. That's also let Paolo Tempera through. Yeah, Miles will want to regroup slightly. He'll have maybe slightly overheated his tyres or brakes or whatever. Maybe he just got onto a very wet part of the circuit. As we see, Hill has now got back ahead of Zeph. And again, looking at the little light boxes on the side of the cars, that tells me that that happened at this lap, so probably into the Dunlop chicane again.
Yeah, it seems to be a popular bit of a tractor there to actually overtake people. I've just seen the timing board, and Mark Zeph has moved ahead of Dan Hill again.
I'm sure that's not the end of that battle. As we see, oh, was that Meesters again with damage?
See you, Mark.
Oh, that sounded like Dan Hill. That sounded like Dan Hill saying, "See you later, Mark." What's happened? Is that Zeph that's run into issues, or is that Hill that's run into issues? Or is that neither of them?
We need those replays. I'll be writing to BBC, me. It looks like Joe Malari and Merijn Hugavin are so close as well. That really come down.
Malaren is popping up at the bottom there, but Malaren has just pitted.
Ah, that would explain that then.
And it doesn't look like Hugavin has. So, oh, no, Hugavin has also pitted. Matthew Hansel and Jack Haynes, relatively close on track. Haynes will be trying to make a move. Also, this battle once again between Tempera, Cook and Miles. Miles has dropped back slightly after that earlier little sort of off-track moment.
It did look as though James Pepper was closing on Carl Hudson as well for 5th place.
That will be good to watch. As we see, there is a car off there. Who is that?
David Watkins.
So yeah, that's brought him now right slap back into the middle of this fight. This fight for 10th place.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for David.
It is unfortunate, yeah.
He was showing some good pace having a strong race. Four GT3s all spaced out by about 7.5. The rain continuing to come down as well.
It is. Looks like it might be starting to get a little heavier. Is it that rain?
It looks like it,
Oh,
yeah.
Philip Miles. Philip Miles again at Mulsanne corner, just not getting the braking right and just going a little bit too wide. Just going a little bit long on the brakes. I think it definitely looks wetter than it was earlier.
Rooster tails are back quite big as well, so that would explain, or that would show that the rain is certainly making a difference, taking effect on the track.
Yeah, definitely. As an aside, Steve, I think it's worth pointing out, I'm absolutely adoring the liveries that we have on these cars.
Oh yeah.
Every car you look at just has an absolutely amazing livery.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort put in by a lot of these drivers and teams to make their cars stand out from the rest of the field. It's fantastic. You know, hats off to a lot of these teams and livery makers for putting such colourful liveries on the cars.
I think it certainly makes a nice refreshing change from the likes of Formula One, where, especially was it a couple of years ago, where you had like, oh yeah, okay, a red Ferrari, sort of a blue Red Bull, and then everything else is just like black, grey, very
Yeah,
sort
a lot of them
monotonous.
Yeah, a lot of them have gone exactly the same, aren't they? A lot of it is carbon fibre because it doesn't weigh anything. They keep the carbon fibre because they don't have to put any paint, so it's extra weight. Whereas in the sim racing world, it doesn't matter.
Definitely.
It looks like Carl Hudson's in the pits.
Oh, Philip Miles again getting it slightly wrong under braking. He is starting to struggle.
And that will be definitely a slowdown for that cross there.
It will be, yeah. And I think the problem is, once you've had a couple of moments like that, if you get into the ABS too much especially, you do just start to overheat the tyres. Of course, that means that you have even less grip. And so you have even more moments like that. And so you have even less grip. And it's just a vicious cycle that just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, once that's started, it's very difficult, and you have to try and back off a little bit and cool the tyres and make sure you get the grip back. And unfortunately, when you're in a battle like this where you're trying to keep position or pass for position, it's very difficult to do that. So you're concentrating on going forward rather than stopping spinning. Oh, there's a touch.
There is a touch. That is David Ward. Looks like he's about to nudge the barriers. So Philip Miles looks like he's got away with that relatively unscathed.
I'm hoping David can continue there. That looked innocuous, but I'm hoping there was no damage to his wheels.
Fingers crossed, yeah. As we see, Mark Zeff up to second briefly. He is yet to pit, though. He's pulled out a bit of a gap from Dan Hill. So I wonder if... We heard from Dan earlier, just saying, see you later, Mark. I wonder if that was Dan in response to having a little spin himself.
Yeah, possibly.
Meanwhile, we've still got a battle for the bottom end of the top 10. We've got Cook and Tempera still fighting each other. Tempera behind. Did have a little cheeky look to the side to see if there was any way through. Not necessarily through the kink. I'll see as Maxwell's getting past Philip Miles behind. Obviously in different classes. We see Tempera is managed to get that move done. And a braking for Indianapolis. And we'll see if John Cook can come back at him. Stephen Maxwell in the GTP gets past. Doesn't manage to get past both of them though. He'll get past Tempera on exit. And I think Cook must have had a bit of a slow exit. Maybe something happened. Maybe he got a bit of wheel spin or something because he dropped a couple of seconds in the space of that one corner.
Allowing out in front, way out in front.
Yeah, but he's in a class of his own at the moment, isn't he?
Very
Not sure what happened to Hugavin. But Hugavin was sort of about 10 seconds back, but Hugavin's now dropping right down the order.
He is. He's back down in 12th. So obviously he's had some sort of incident, and it's dropped him way back.
Meanwhile, for 5th and 6th, Tomei just ahead of Kelly. Kelly with his newly repaired front end. Now able to see the cars that he's fighting. And more importantly, the cars that he's fighting are able to see him in the rearview mirror. And we now cannot see anything. Fog really starting to get thick now. It looks like it might have stopped raining though, Steve. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just obviously the track's so damp now. I don't think that's going to dry out until the end of the track, with the end of the race, with only 28 minutes left.
Oh no, I'll tell you right, it's definitely still raining there.
Having said that, the track is so big, it could be that it's raining in one part of the track, but not in the other.
Possibly, because yeah, from this view it looks bone dry. Well, not bone dry, but as in, it looks like there's certainly no rain. As we see, that's Hansel and James Pepper. Pepper trying to make his way past. That was very brave, yeah. I'm sure James won't attempt anything through Tetra Rouge. No, he doesn't, but he'll try and get a good exit and get a nice, good run down the Mulsanne Straight. He looks like he's got slipstream. Yeah. Pepper makes a very decisive early move to the inside. And we can't see a thing. Something is happening. Some cars are going racing. I wish I could tell you who.
I can just see headlights.
I can see headlights as well. It looks as if, yep, the Cool Camel is ahead. So James Pepper managed to carry more speed down the straight. And get his Mercedes in front of the Mustang. And his eyes... Yeah, he has. And his eyes will be firmly fixated on the car ahead, which just happens to be Papa Pepper.
I don't think he'll fight him too hard on this one.
No, I think especially when you've still got half an hour left of the race. More importantly, you've got inter-team politics at play. Inter-house politics at play as well.
Yeah, he still won't smush my car though. No
I
team
think everyone always
orders.
says that.
So no team orders in the blue team. It's if you're going to race, you're going to race. And you race hard and fair, and if you can pass, you'll get past.
Yeah, I think people always say number one rule of racing: don't take out your teammate. I think
Oh yes.
an even higher number one rule of racing is don't take out your family members.
Very true. Don't take out your dad. He pays the bills.
So does that imply that Steve Pepper can take out James scot-free?
Not at all. Not at all. It looks like the Kilconnell Blues are actually pulling away from Matthew there.
Indeed.
Oh.
Unfortunately, though,
Who's
it
the win
looks
there?
like that is Mark Kelly.
Mark Kelly with on front end, yeah. He's obviously
So
had an
it
incident
looks
somewhere
like
around the track.
Meester's also looks like he's been in the wars a little bit because he's made his 4th pit stop, and it looks like he's been only doing sort of 1 or 2 lap stints. So I'm not sure if he's trying to get a bit of damage repaired and then struggling on cold tyres perhaps and picking up some more damage.
Possibly. Oh, it's a bit wide there from Stephen Maxwell. And that is indeed Rich Meester's there being passed.
Hansel now starting to drop further behind Pepper, and he's going to drop even further behind now as he spins. Luckily he keeps it out of the barrier. Very quick to reverse back on track though, so hopefully he checked that the road was clear first.
Yeah, it's such a big track. There's big gaps between the cars anyway, so it's usually fairly clear, fairly safe to back to the inside of the track and set off again. And as we can see, it's still raining quite heavily at the moment.
Mark Zeff, having made his 2nd pit stop, looks like he's come out in 3rd. So that is absolutely brilliant. And yeah, looking at the track map, he's just going through Tetra Rouge now. He's a good sort of few seconds ahead of Tomei. So it's a brilliant job by Zeff for jumping up a few positions in the pits.
And it looks like a couple of the GT3 drivers have also just made pit stops, and it's catapulted James Pepper up to 5th place.
And of course that is sort of a true position because Pepper of course has already made his 2nd pit stop. Hopefully Pepper will be able to go to the end of the race after that pit stop. I hope that he put enough fuel in.
That's the question.
Of course, that could all be a moot point if the rain stops and it dries out before the end, and everyone has to pit for slicks.
Very true. I can't see it myself. I still say, with the rain that's fallen in the last 20 minutes, half an hour, you can see puddles on the side of the road there. I'd still say, with the rain still falling, that the track's not going to dry out, and it's going to be wet all the way through to the end. As we can see now, it's lightly wet is the track. So anything more than that, as it keeps raining, I think they're going to be on wet tyres right until the end.
Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. I can't see it drying up enough to go to slicks at this stage, but anything is possible.
We shall see. Excuse me.
I mean, I think especially at the start of the race, we saw it wasn't raining and the wetness on the track wasn't really going anywhere, but that could just be down to ambient temperature. As we see the McLaren of Chris White. We've not really spoken too much about him this race, but he's up there in 6th. He's having a decent race. But yeah, it could just be that it was due to ambient temperature conditions, and actually if the rain stops, the sun comes out, the fog lifts, suddenly the track dries up in a sort of space of 10-15 minutes. You never know. That is the beauty of these new weather conditions.
Yeah, I think the iRacing Tempest is a fantastic addition to the racing, and it is very accurate. As you can see, it's coming down. As far as I'm concerned, it's still coming down in stair rods as if. So I can't see this anything but a wet track and slicks. But we'll see. We've got another 20 minutes left of the race, so we'll see if the sun finally comes out.
Indeed. Obviously, Jay Pratt and Joshua Martinez have made what I assume is their final pit stop, and just saw them at the bottom of the screen. One man that has just disappeared, and I've just noticed he's not on the standings board. Oliver Ettridge. Do we see what happened to him?
We didn't know. There must have been some sort of incident or accident, and it's put him way down the order.
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't notice him dropping off, but I've just realised I've not seen his name on the side for a while, so I'm not sure what happened there. Meanwhile, as we see, I think that's confirmation that all the GT3s look like they've made their final pit stop, and I think all the GTPs have as well. So no more pit stops expected. Oh, except for maybe Don Parker.
Yeah, I think Don may have short stinted because obviously his first stint was on in the first lap where he took off his front end, so he wouldn't have had enough to get him through to the end.
Yeah, just looking at it, maybe Jack Haynes might have to do a splash and dash. So I'm just thinking about it, we've got, what, 15... little over, yeah, about 17, 18 minutes left. So that's going to be, what,
So there's an incident there. So there's a touch.
There was a touch, yeah. Looks like there's no damage, though.
That was Mark Brown was the recipient of a bit of a nudge there, I think.
Yeah, so I think maybe we've got maybe 5, maybe 6 laps left of the race.
Yeah.
So just looking at it, I think Jack Haynes must have to do a splash and dash. Carl Hudson, I think, might also have to do a splash and dash.
That could go for James Pepper as well if they're on the same sort of strategies.
Well, James Pepper's on his second lap of the stint, so with another, what, 5 laps, I think he's cutting it close. Yeah.
Yes, if you add James's and Jack's laps up, they're on equal laps. So
oh yes, but Jack's.
If Jack's looking like a splash and dash, it could be that James is the same. So that'd be interesting to see.
Well, I'm thinking Jack Haynes has been on this fuel stint for 5 laps now. He's on his 6th lap, and all the other GT3s have been getting 7 laps a stint. James is only on a second lap of this stint.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I think he might be close. Zeph, meanwhile, after he's made his pit stop, has dropped behind Tomei now. Well, we did see him come out ahead of Tomei after his pit stop, so I'm not sure what's happened there. As we see, that's Tempera going very out of control.
Sideways. That lets Matthew Hansel into 9th place.
Zeph now 3. Oh,
whoa, he's off,
I was just about to say he's 3 seconds behind Tomei, but he's going to be a lot more than that now. It was a nasty incident. Just pitched him straight into the wall, and that will be quite a substantial amount of damage if he's able to continue. And it looks like he's had to tow back to the pit lane.
That's such a shame.
It is very unfortunate. So that'll promote everyone up a position. So Our podium is still Malaran from Maxwell from Tomei. Dan Hill now moves up to 4th. Chris White up to 5th. He's having a very good run. Malaran, though, absolute class of the field. He's got no one anywhere near him. He's coming up to the Porsche curves, and Maxwell in second is only just braking for Mulsanne.
Yeah, I think there's only maybe Merijn Hoogeveen that's been in front of Tour all race, and that was only for a very brief spell. So he's been a class of one, so to speak.
He is an absolute masterclass. And just as we predicted, Steve, Jack Haynes has come into the pits.
Yeah. Splash and dash.
He did do a splash and dash, yeah. It looks like he was far enough ahead of Pepper that he was able to stay ahead.
It'd be interesting to see as well if obviously there's a limit on the incidents that these drivers can take. It'd be interesting to see it. Obviously we can't see it at the moment, but with the spins and off tracks and things like that, this causes with the weather. It'd be interesting to see if towards the end of the race there are any drivers that are very close to the drive-through limit.
Yeah, we'll have to see, as James Pepper unfortunately has just lost another position to Carl Hudson. So I'm not sure if Pepper maybe had an incident. As we see the other Pepper, Steve Pepper, getting past Ben Chalcraft. So hopefully Pepper hasn't lost too much time. The important thing to note in the Battle of the Animals is that Pepper, the Cool Camel Racing team, is still ahead of Clayton Buller for the Formula Llamas.
And that's the first result that everybody looks at. Where's the camels and the llamas?
Well, you know, let's be honest, no one really cares about who wins the race overall, or even who wins the GT3 class. Everyone wants to know, did the camels beat the llamas? And yeah, I think it's definitely worth pointing out that both Steve and myself, we are completely impartial third parties. We definitely don't favour the Cool Camel Racing team. Definitely not.
Definitely not.
We are certainly impartial, and no one can say anything otherwise.
This is very true. Say what you see. That's what it is.
I think, in all fairness to the Formula Llama team, they are also... they're very lovely chaps. They also have a YouTube channel. I think it's just Formula Llamas. So, yeah, go ahead and check out their point of view of this race.
Yeah, we've also got Extra Racing.
Give them a like and subscribe. Yes,
Yeah,
Russell Bright
as well.
races under Extra Racing.
Yeah,
Don Parker.
There's one or two, actually. Mm-hmm.
Don Parker streams on Twitch, as does Rich Meesters.
I think John Cook does as well. I think John Cook's got his own YouTube channel as well. I think that's JC61 or something like that. If you're in Discord, make sure you come along and say hello, and the guys will certainly point you in the right direction for different things for the external community that we've got.
I think certainly if we've mentioned you and we've butchered your Twitch handle, then just pop a comment and everyone will be able to find you that way.
That'd be unlike us to butcher people's names and Twitch handles. We're like the Sweeney Todds of YouTube. Oh dear. Good job I don't own Greg's.
Well, we have plenty of animals, racing cars that we can chop up and put into pies.
I don't fancy a tortoise pie though. Or a frog pie.
No, but
I suppose it depends how drunk you are, really.
yeah, to be fair, the one animal that I wouldn't actually mind, the Stappy Goose. But of course,
yes,
they're not racing
lovely.
today.
Yes.
I do like a bit of goose.
Nine minutes left. 9 minutes remaining.
Yes, we are getting towards the end of the race. And
Still
we've got a
anything to
fight
play
here for second. Jay Pratt just narrowly ahead of Joshua Martinez. Final pit stop has been completed. So this is just a straight up sprint to the end.
And now we are on a moderately wet track. So it has decreased in grip for the cars on track. As we've seen Mark Brown there passing James Pepper.
Jay Pratt still ahead of Martinez. Martinez not able to get close enough to find a way through. Oh, although Pratt's gone wide.
Big
He'll
mistake.
be kicking himself for that. That's just let Martinez through easily. And in fact, yeah, Martinez breaks the draft almost immediately. So with 8 minutes left, that could be race over. Well, not race over for Pratt. He's still in third. He's still got a podium out of it. But his chances of getting second have suddenly diminished.
You can see the track conditions worsening all the time as the rain comes down.
Yeah, it's certainly not getting any easier for him. In fact, yeah, you can see this is the Porsche curves, which previously we were actually able to see the cars. That's Kelly going... That's getting Arnage wrong.
Yeah, it's obviously getting very slippery down that bottom end of the track.
Zeph has recovered. He is back to 7th. As we see Maxwell having an incident. And it all seems to be exactly the same thing. It seems to be these guys just touching the brake pedal and getting absolutely nothing and just sliding straight on into the gravel. And it's always the worst feeling in the world when that happens, because you're pressing the brake, nothing's happening, and you can tell exactly what's going to happen. And it almost feels like slow motion as you just fall off the track. It just feels so... almost effortless in the way it happens, but in the same way, nothing you can do about it.
No matter what you do, you know exactly where you're going to go, and even if you lift your foot off the brake, you know there's no chance, there's no getting back from it.
Yeah. So here's Hudson versus Pepper. The gap between them just 0.2 of a second. Pepper just having a little cheeky look to see if there's a way past. There is not, as they enter the Porsche curves. And having said that Jay Pratt might have just kissed his chances of second place goodbye, here he is right on the back of Martinez.
Yeah, it looks like Joshua's had a bit of a moment there, and once again on the white painted line. Yeah,
Pratt just keeping to the inside line and yeah, getting the position straight back.
It's a nice little overtake by Jay there.
That was good, yeah.
And from the timing board, looks as though James Pepper put Carl Hudson behind him.
Hopefully we'll be able to rejoin that battle. Yeah, Jay Pratt now will just want to stretch his legs, try and break the toe from Martinez behind. There's no GTP traffic to play for a little bit. So
looks like Carl
there's
Hudson's
nothing
had
that's
a
going to
bit
get...
of a moment.
Yes, he's dropped down the field a little bit, yeah. Could it be fuel? Could he have had to box?
Possibly. Possibly. But he's certainly he's now in 8th. He's not showing that he's been in the pits at the moment. But even Paolo Temperi
There we go. Yeah,
taking 8th
it's just showing up. He's only been able to manage 6 lap stints.
Yes.
So he's just come to the end of his 18th lap, which means he needs to pit.
I think Carl was Carl running the looks like somebody's gone round. Yes, that is Mark Kelly going round.
You're right, Steve.
I think Carl Hudson was in the Mustang, wasn't it? I'm fairly sure he's in the Mustang, so that would explain if it's down to fuel.
No, that was him in the Porsche.
Was it a Porsche?
Yeah, that's him in the background there, number 6.
Right. I thought it was a Mustang for a moment. I know Matthew Hansel's Mustang. I was just thinking if he was in the Mustang, it would sort of like go into that with fuel because it's a very, very thirsty car.
Yeah. Joshua Martinez still hasn't given up in his pursuit of 2nd place from Jay Pratt. He's running out of time to do it though. Just have to try and work out where the leader is because we've only got a minute and a bit left of this race. Tell you what, Tion Malaren and Stephen Maxwell have both just had to pit for a final time. And just looking at their... Yeah, just looking at their stint lengths. They had that 5-lap middle stint. Maybe they did try... So maybe Malaren, Maxwell and Hugavin did all try the slicks. Because that would explain that short middle stint.
Yeah, I would think so. Because that would sort of like coincide with the rain coming down, wouldn't it?
It would do, yeah. So Malaren has just crossed the start-finish line, so with 30 seconds left, this will be his last lap.
Zeph had a little bit of a moment there.
He did indeed. These guys will have 2 laps to go. And, that's Zeph into the wall.
Off he goes again. And the front end comes off. Oh,
and toes immediately. So that will be the end of his race then.
Time
so
up.
Bright there.
For the the leader's coming round, aren't we now?
Yep, he's on the Mulsanne straight.
Oh. Clayton Buller
So
going across
Stephen
the grass.
Maxwell, he did indeed. He's just that desperate to get out of Maxwell's way and not be accused of disobeying blue flags.
It's a jumping llama.
Merijn is heading down the Mulsanne straight, so all these guys will get the white flag as they cross the line. Oh, Russell Bright spinning
right, James
through
Pepper.
Tetra Rouge. Yeah, James. I'm sure Pepper will have had a little bit of a brown flag moment.
Not half. That's not what you want to see going around that corner, is it?
Definitely not, no. Meanwhile, Forrester making his way through the GT3 traffic of John Cook. He almost does exactly the same thing as both Zeph and Bright.
Yeah, he just managed to hold on to it though. Mark Brown
Mark
going across
Brown.
the gravel.
So I wonder if conditions have just gotten really bad in the last sort of minute or so. Because we've seen a few cars all sort of go off at the same corner within a few seconds of each other.
Yeah, I mean the thing is as well that these cars have been running around. They've done worn tyres, but also the rain just hasn't stopped for the last half an hour. So track conditions have been decreasing and getting worse for the last 20-25 minutes. And I think this is why the cars are struggling for these slower corners.
So if we look out for where's Merijn, he is just coming through the Porsche curves now. In fact, there he is. Will we stay on board with him for the rest of the race? I imagine we will. He's got absolutely no pressure behind him. And as we see, is that Meesters heading to the pits?
Yep.
Merijn will cross the finish line.
I don't think the white flag's come out yet, Mark. This could be the white flag lap. That's cars in the pits.
I think you might be right, yeah. Yeah, I think we've got an extra couple of minutes.
Yeah, the checkered
So
flag
one more
hasn't
lap.
come out yet. I'm sure the race director will put up when it's when they cross the finish line to finish.
I'm sure he will. So, now with one more lap to go then. As you see, Ben Crook leading the GT3 class, and he's also in a bit of a field of his own, isn't he? We've got that fight between Pratt and Martinez behind, but yeah, he's got sort of nearly half the Mulsanne straight between him and the next nearest car.
I think Ben will be hoping for to actually catch and pass him, so he doesn't have to have another lap. That's Tour going down the Mulsanne straight, and the second part of it.
Pratt, meanwhile, has managed to build a bit of a gap back to Martinez behind. That gap now sort of 2.5 seconds. So it's not a comfortable gap, but it's enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks as though Chris Whitehead has to have a bit of a splash and dash at the end there as well.
You're not wrong there. So, tell you what, this will make it even more critical for Pepper. And in fact, yeah, Pepper's had to have a splash and dash as well.
Yes, he has.
And with Pepper just leaving the pits now, I'm not sure if he put new tyres on, but if he does, he'll need to be very careful about cold tyres. I think it's a bit unfortunate for James that he couldn't go 7 laps on that first stint, because that would have avoided a splash and dash, but I don't think it's cost him any positions, so... yeah, just looking at where is Merijn, he is approaching the Porsche curves now. So yeah, Ben Crook with a 30-second gap back to Pratt behind. And there is Merijn. Well, I wonder if Crook is going to slow down and let Merijn pass. I know I certainly would if I was in his shoes.
I will be in all. He's not that far away from him.
Also, we don't know about fuel level either. As we see, there we go. Crook gets out of the way, lets Merijn past.
And indeed.
So
Ben
Merijn...
goes into the pits.
So yeah, Merijn will cross the finish line to win the GTP field. Rather bizarrely, Ben Crook will cross the finish line in the pit lane to take the win. And I suppose at least this way he can celebrate with his pit crew straight away. A drive-through. Oh, a drive-through for James Pepper right at the end. That is very unfortunate.
35 seconds, that was right down that field. Unfortunately.
It's dropped him down to 8th, unfortunately. Oh, that's a real shame for James.
Such a shame, yeah. He still beats his dad, though.
Yeah, but he was having an absolute cracking race, was James.
He was, yeah. It was such a strong showing.
As you see, Tempera and Pepper decided that no, crossing the finishing line forwards isn't unique enough. Let's all do it backwards. Let's reverse over the finish line.
Synchronised spinning.
Indeed.
There we go.
So, yep. So, as we look at the race results, Merijn from Maxwell, from Tomei, Hill and White are the top 5 in the GTP field. See, all 15 drivers that entered were able to score points.
GT3 is coming up next. GT3s, we see Ben Crook taking the win with Jay Pratt, Joshua Martinez, Jack Ames and Clayton Bull in 5th, followed by John Cook, Carl Hudson, James Pepper, Steve Pepper, Paolo Tempera rounding out the top 10.
I think crucially that drive-through for James handed the win between the animals to the llamas.
Massively.
As we see in the GTP Drivers' Championships, Hugavin starting to edge away from his nearest rivals, building up a commanding lead. Still a long way to go. This is round 4, is it, Steve?
It is indeed, yes. Round 5 coming up shortly.
So, yeah, we're not even halfway through the championship yet.
Very true. Let's say Drivers' Championship for GT3. Ben Crook, really strong, 137 points now, followed by Oliver Ettridge and Jay Pratt. And then further down, obviously scoring all the way down to 22nd, 25th place maybe. So there's a lot of drivers there that have been and competed, and you see there with down to 35th.
So it's good to see so many drivers involved in this championship. And as we see the team championships appear on screen, yeah, it's wonderful to see so many different drivers, teams, everyone getting involved and racing. And if you would also like to get involved in racing, we will have our links to all of our socials in the description. Come and say hello.
Yeah, I think the socials are coming up next. I think there's some QR codes you can scan and come and join us.
Indeed, so we see just some replays in the background of the action that we have just witnessed. There are the QR codes that you can scan for the Discord, for the YouTube, and for our website. I think all that's left to do is say thank you very much for watching. My name's been Mark, joining me in the commentary booth has been Steve, and next up is Interlagos.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to be here, Mark. I'm looking forward to the next race and doing the comments with you. Alright, take care everybody.
Thanks, bye.
Bye for now.